You're walking to your car at night. The parking lot is mostly empty. The streetlights are spaced just far enough apart that there are these deep, heavy pools of shadow between them. And as you get closer, you hear a noise. Or maybe you don't hear a noise. Maybe it's just the wind. But suddenly, the hair on the back of your neck stands up. Your heart rate spikes. Your pupils dilate. You fumble with your keys, your brain screaming at you to just get inside. Now, think about what's actually happening in that moment. You are a modern human. You have a smartphone in your pocket and a car with 2 tons of steel. Statistically, there is absolutely nothing in that parking lot that can physically overpower you. And yet, your body is reacting as if a leopard is about to drop from the sky. Why? Seriously, think about this for a second. Why does the primal part of your brain completely override your logical, modern prefrontal cortex just because the sun went down? The standard answer is that we just can't see very well at night. But that's not it. The real reason goes back hundreds of thousands of years to a very specific, brutal evolutionary mistake our ancestors made. A mistake that turned us from the hunters into the hunted and permanently rewired the human nervous system to be terrified of the shadows. Let's go back, way back. Let's start with the obvious. You can't see in the dark. Compared to a cat or an owl, human night vision is a joke. We don't have the reflective layer behind the retina that gives nocturnal animals that eerie eye shine. But here's the thing. Evolution doesn't just accidentally forget to give you a feature. Evolution is a ruthless accountant. Every biological trait costs energy. If early humans needed to see in the dark, we would have evolved the hardware to do it. So why didn't we? Because of a trade-off. And this is where the mistake begins. Somewhere around 60 million years ago, our early primate ancestors made a crucial pivot. They moved from being nocturnal to diurnal. They decided to conquer the day. To do this, they sacrificed night vision for something else: color vision and high acuity depth perception. We traded the ability to see in the dark for the ability to see the subtle color differences in ripe fruit and to accurately judge the distance between branches when swinging through the canopy. It was a brilliant move. It allowed us to dominate the daylight world, but it came with a catastrophic catch. By specializing our eyes for the sun, we biologically blinded ourselves to the night. We lost the ability to see the things that were hunting us in the dark. And there were a lot of things hunting us. We like to think of human evolution as this triumphant march of tool-making apes slowly conquering the food chain. But if you look at the actual fossil record, the picture is completely different. For millions of years, we weren't the apex predators. We were the snacks. Let's look at the fossil evidence. In South Africa, researchers found the skull of a young early hominin known as the Taung child. For a long time, they couldn't figure out what killed it. Then, closer examination revealed the answer. The base of the skull and the eye sockets had been punctured by talons, perfectly spaced. The child hadn't been killed by a rival tribe. It had been killed by a massive prehistoric eagle. And the eagles weren't the worst of it. When you look at the caves where early hominins lived, you find caves that were dominated by giant hyenas, saber-toothed cats, and leopards. In fact, the fossil record is so saturated with the remains of our ancestors inside leopard dens that paleontologists have a specific term for it. We call them leopard traps. Leopards would drag the bodies of early hominins up into the trees or deep into cave systems to eat them in peace. The bones would fall through the fissures in the rock, accumulating over thousands of years. We literally built our understanding of human evolution out of the leftover garbage from leopard dinners. This is the reality of the Pleistocene epoch. When the sun went down, you were not the master of the environment. You were a slow, relatively soft, night-blind primate huddled on the ground, surrounded by predators that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of killing in the dark. A leopard can see a movement in the dark from 50 yards away. A hyena can crush a femur like a breadstick. Against these things, in the pitch black, you had zero chance. So, how did we survive? If we were so biologically unsuited for the night, the logical outcome is extinction. But we didn't go extinct. we multiplied. And this brings us back to the deadly mistake. The mistake wasn't losing our night vision. The mistake was forgetting how vulnerable we actually were. As humans evolved larger brains and better tools, we started to win during the day. We got better at hunting. We started to feel safe. We started to forget what it felt like to be prey. But the night doesn't care about your spears. The only reason we survived the night is because of one single world-altering discovery: fire. When our ancestors figured out how to control fire, it wasn't just about warmth. Fire was a biological hack. It was an artificial sun. By creating a circle of light, we essentially created a force field. Most large predators have an innate evolutionary terror of fire. But here's what's genuinely interesting. The fire didn't eliminate the fear, it just managed it. Because the fire only works if you keep it burning. If the fire goes out, you die. If you fall asleep and nobody is watching the flames, you die. The invention of fire didn't make us safe. It just turned the night into a high-stakes vigil. It meant that every single night, for hundreds of thousands of years, humans had to sit in the dark, staring into the flames, listening to the sounds of the predators just outside the light, knowing that if they let their guard down for even a second, they would be dragged into the black. This is where the biology kicks in. Evolution is incredibly slow, but it is ruthlessly efficient at punishing mistakes. The humans who weren't afraid of the dark, they didn't pass on their genes. They got eaten. The humans who felt a deep, irrational, paralyzing spike of anxiety when the sun went down, they stayed near the fire. They kept watch. They survived. They reproduced. Over hundreds of thousands of generations, that fear wasn't just a learned behavior. It became hard-coded into our DNA. It became the baseline architecture of the human nervous system. Let's look at what happens in your body right now when you walk through that dark parking lot. Before you even consciously realize you're scared, your amygdala, the ancient, almond-shaped fear center of your brain, has already hijacked your system. It dumps adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate spikes. Your peripheral vision narrows, forcing you to focus straight ahead on potential threats. You aren't deciding to be scared. Your body is executing a 300,000-year-old survival algorithm that was written in blood. Your brain is literally treating the shadow of a trash can as if it were a saber-toothed cat. It is running a threat assessment simulation at the speed of light, and it is defaulting to maximum panic because for almost all of human history, the cost of ignoring a shadow was death. The humans who assumed the shadow was just a shadow, they were the ones who didn't wake up. The humans who assumed the shadow was a predator and ran away, they survived to tell the tale. You are not descended from the brave. You are descended from the paranoid. You are the offspring of the deeply, profoundly anxious. And that anxiety is the only reason you exist. But here's the problem. The environment has changed and the biology hasn't. We have spent the last 450 years completely eradicating the dark. We have streetlights, porch lights, and LED screens. We have engineered the predators out of our cities. We have built a world where the night is essentially just a slightly darker version of the day. But your nervous system doesn't know that. Your nervous system still thinks it's 100,000 BCE. It still thinks the hyenas are just outside the firelight. This is why you feel that irrational spike of fear when you hear a noise in your house at 2 a.m. This is why you keep one foot outside the blanket just in case something grabs your ankle. We treat this fear like it's a glitch. We treat it like a childhood phase that we're supposed to grow out of. But there is nothing wrong with the fear. The fear is working perfectly. It's just operating in a world that no longer requires it. So let's bring this back to where we started. Next time you're walking to your car at night and the hair on your neck stands up and your heart starts pounding and you're fumbling with your keys because the shadows look a little too deep, don't be embarrassed. Don't tell yourself to calm down. Don't try to logic your way out of it. Just take a second to appreciate what's happening. That spike of adrenaline, that's 300,000 years of human survival, firing all at once. That's the collective triumph of every single ancestor you have ever had, stretching all the way back to the first hominin who looked into the dark, felt terrified, and decided to stay by the fire anyway. you're not malfunctioning. You're not weak. You are just remembering you are feeling the exact same fear that kept your species alive long enough to build the world you live in today. The dark didn't break us, it made us. So get in your car, lock the doors, and drive home. And when you turn on your bedroom light, take a second to appreciate the bulb. Because for almost all of history, the only light we had was the fire. And the things outside the firelight were always waiting.